Hi, hello, I'm Martin Yelverton. I'll be guiding this reasonably straightforward, gentle yoga practice for the next hour or so. Shouldn't be anything too intense in the way of body work here today, so reasonably straightforward yoga postures, a bit of moving from one posture to another, trying to coordinate it all with the breath, but very important that if anything hurts or feels like it's stressing you out and doesn't feel anything other than pleasant, relaxing, enjoyable, interesting, just stop doing it, please. You can turn the video off and walk away, or you can just lie down and wait for the next thing to come along that you might want to investigate. And while it's primarily me leading a sequence of postures, the underlying work should be try and make it as personal as you can. So noticing what you feel in the way of sensations, but not trying to be analytical about it, just literally feeling it, using your body as a laboratory for bringing your attention, your awareness into where you're working at the moment. So whatever you're doing with your body, whatever you're doing with your breath, trying to be aware of it, not analyzing it, just to feel it, to experience it, and to notice whenever your mind wanders off. And when you do notice your mind wander off, gently lead it back to what we're doing. That's pretty much it. So I'm going to start off by inviting you to lie down on the ground in some way. On your back, perhaps, with your legs out in front of you, lying long on the ground, your legs long on the ground, yoga shavasana style, your hands, your arms, wherever you want to place them, if you wish. Equally, feet on the floor, lying on your back with your feet on the floor and your knees up in constructive rest position, also very relaxing. Just lie down on the floor now in some way in which you can feel relaxed for a few moments. We'll just spend a little bit of time bringing our attention into our body before we start the physical work. So as you settle, as you relax down into whatever position you are relaxing on the ground, just engage with this for a moment. I say to you, how are you feeling right now? How are you? How are things? And I don't mean make a story about your life or anything, just literally how are you feeling right now, this moment. Could be happy, could be chilled, could be stressed, could be angry, whatever. Just take a few moments to contemplate how you feel right now. And I stress, we're not trying to make a huge story about it, just what your immediate reaction to that question is, that invitation, and then as smoothly as you can to move away from whatever mental, verbal reaction you might have had to that and see where you feel it in your body. So if you're feeling happy, where is that reflected? How is it reflected in your body? If you're feeling stressed or angry, where is that? How are you feeling that in your body? So as quickly, as smoothly as you can, moving away from the words to finding a physical expression of whatever it is you're feeling right now. That's it. Just look in your body and experience whatever it is you happen to be feeling. Check your emotional climate and feel it physically. Don't need to change anything, although sometimes simply noticing something like that can affect it. And then gently release that and bring your attention to your breathing. I'm not going to do any fancy breathing, just noticing how your breath is right now. The inhale, the exhale, the brief pauses between those two phases of the breath. So you will inhale, there's usually a brief pause there. You exhale, there's another brief pause. Just noticing that for a few moments. Don't need to change it. Just observe how it is for you. maybe allow the breath to lengthen a little bit. So inhaling a little bit more, a little longer than you might normally, and exhaling a little longer than you might normally. But definitely not in a way where you're trying to do it forcefully. You're not forcing yourself to breathe, to lengthen your breath. If it doesn't come with ease, just stick with doing what you're doing, just natural breath. But if it does feel relaxing to allow your breath to lengthen, try that. Just let your breath gently lengthen. Being aware of those pauses. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause, and repeat. And you're not trying to hold your breath or anything, but the effect of those pauses, it might be that your pause lasts a split second, it might be that your pause is 2 or 3 seconds. Just breathing without grasping at either the inhale or the exhale. Just relaxed breathing. And we're going to gently start moving now. So bringing yourself up into a comfortable seated position on the floor. Some kind of relaxing cross-legged position. If you don't find this position relaxing for any reason, maybe try sitting on a cushion. Bring yourself up a little bit higher so your hips are a little bit higher than your knees. Just take a few moments to observe the sensations, whatever's going on with your mind as you make this transition from lying on the ground to sitting on the ground. While we are in the seated position, we're just going to hold a few postures in which we move our spine in various ways, and we later on further in the practice we'll do the same thing while standing up. So as you do this, really notice how your body is feeling when we do these next few things we're going to do. So first of all, I'm going to suggest interlacing your fingers, but with your forefingers making a steeple and one thumb crossed on top of the other. Okay, so interlacing the fingers, steeple, one thumb crossed on top of the other, and it's quite an engaged grip. And then reach your arms all the way up, lengthen through the spine, get nice and tall through the spine. Breathe. Notice the impact on your breath the act of raising your arms up has. And then gently going to move from one side to the other, gently curving at the waist. So a bit of lateral flexion here. Side bending. If you find this interlacing of the arms unpleasant, do feel free just to open your arms out and reach up with open arms. Pause in the center for a moment, lengthen up again. Nice and long. Quite active in the arms if you can. A real reaching kind of sensation. And then we're going to go over to one side and hold for a while. So just curve over to one side. We want to keep both sit bones on the ground. So if you find yourself curving over so much that one of your opposite sit bone is coming up, just ease back a little bit. And we're just going to breathe here now. Just sit and breathe. Nice smooth inhales and exhales through the nose. Paying attention to what sensations you're feeling. How's your neck feeling? Do you need to make any micro adjustments for your neck to feel some ease? And even as we've curved over, we're still reaching quite actively through the arms and the shoulders. Come back to center. Take a moment, lengthen up through the spine. Nice and tall. And then take a side bend to the other side. Keep reaching into this bend. Arms are active, they're engaged. And you're not going over so far that you lose contact with both sit bones on the ground. Come back to center, reach long again, and then bring your arms down. Rest your arms however you want to rest them for a few moments. Notice what you feel in your body now. Just keep coming back to that. That's kind of, we'll be doing physical work throughout the practice, but to my mind, the point of it really is bringing your mind back to see what you're feeling in the way of sensation. And of course, responding. If anything feels untoward, you respond. That's what it's for. Making wise decisions about anything that doesn't feel good. Okay, we're going to change the cross of the legs. So if you've got your left in front of the right, swing them around, change the cross of your legs. Perhaps notice your reaction to what's happened when you change the cross of your legs. What does your mind do? How does your body feel? And then going to take the hands behind yourself in some kind of way, perhaps on the fingertips. Trying to sit up nice and tall. We're going to take a back bend now in the seated position, but first of all, making a point of trying to lengthen your spine up as long as you can. Let your head gently go back, your eyes tracking the ceiling above you, only taking your neck as far back as feels okay. And then lifting the front of your chest up, although it's kind of curving into a back bend. I mean, I've instructed that as lifting the front of the chest up, but you are trying to bend your upper, your middle back. Trying to avoid getting too much of that back bend in your low back, which is kind of usually reasonably easy to get some backward curve in. We're trying to reach up with the back bend into the higher part of the back. Let the head and the neck be relaxed. And adjust. If anything doesn't feel right, adjust. I notice right there that I've taken my head far too back, so I'll just bring it forward a tiny bit. Keep breathing. Nice, long, smooth inhales, nice, long, smooth exhales. And then bring your head down. Sit up straight again. Notice what you're feeling. Once again, let's change the cross of the legs. And we're going to move into a seated forward fold here. So just let your arms come onto the floor in front of you and round down into a seated forward fold as much as you want to go. Keeping the sit bones on the ground, so you're not trying to pull yourself so far forward that your bum's coming up off the floor. Keep it relaxed. Just take yourself to a place where everything feels comfortable and sit there and breathe. Notice the impact of closing down on the front of the body on your breath. So maybe encouraging the breath more strongly in the back of the body. Walk your hands back towards your body as you lengthen up through the spine again. Take those few moments to bring your awareness to whatever sensation you're feeling in your tissues, in your muscles, your tendons, your joints. and your breath. What impact did all of that have on you? Not in the form of a story, but in the form of what are you feeling right now? Let's change the cross of the legs again. We'll take some very gentle seated rotations. We'll do it, I think we'll do these ones moving rather than holding one. So just going to one side, maybe gently. You're not grabbing this knee to force yourself as deep into the rotation as you can, just a bit of gentle encouragement. The other hand going to the floor, and then repeating. Just gently going from one side to the other, keeping your spine reasonably upright and erect. Letting your neck turn as well, so looking towards the back when you do these rotations. And when you're ready, recenter for a few moments, and then make your way. Take a few moments just resting in child pose. So coming down into child pose. If this full-on version of child pose with your bum going right back to your feet isn't for you, it's totally fine to kind of kneel with your head on the ground. Just find some way of relaxing in this position with your head down, arms in front. Arms can also be behind. And just breathe. Again, in child pose, the front of the body is strongly compressed. So once again, noticing what it's like to feel the breath predominantly in the back. To encourage it, encourage that expansion of the back on the inhale. Feel the contraction on the exhale. Let's come up onto hands and knees. Take a few moments on hands and knees to find a place that feels reasonably stable and comfortable. Sort of a rough yardstick is kind of knees beneath the hips, hands beneath the shoulders, but it's very, very loose and individual. It's not a rule. You might find that your wrists feel happier if you let your hands walk forward a tiny bit. Same thing with the knees. Just find some way. Take a few moments just to explore the positioning of your hands and your knees as you settle into this position. Also, seeing what your head and your neck are doing. So letting your neck be long. You're not letting your head just dangle down, hang down limply. So keeping your head either up a little bit or trying to find neutral neck. By neutral neck, thinking of your neck with its gentle natural curve continuing out from the rest of your spine. Next thing will be moving a little bit with the breath. I'm going to suggest when to breathe in, when to breathe out. If the opposite of what I'm suggesting feels right, that's the one to do. Or if it's too much even to get involved with deciding when you're breathing in and when you're breathing out, just breathe naturally. So inhaling, lifting the head up, lifting the chest up. That will be on the inhale. Also the sense of pulling forward with the hands, with the arms. So as the chest comes up, as the head comes up, we'll be pulling forward. Then, as we exhale, we're going to be rounding the back, looking down towards the tummy, and lowering down all the way into a child pose with the forearms on the floor and the head on the ground. So coming back up again. And I was talking so much, and that if you were trying to do the breathing as I was suggesting, it's going to have been awkward. But those are the two positions with the breath. So let's go. Inhaling, head's coming up, chest is coming forward. Exhaling, really, really rounding the back, looking down towards your tummy, coming to your child pose, forearms to the ground, head to the ground, and repeat. Going at your own pace now. Next time you land in your child pose, stay there and rest for a little while. Just take a few moments to relax. So while this practice isn't hyper-focused on moving with the breath, that I think is a nice way of practicing if you can find one way of moving the body, one breath, one movement. As long as it doesn't start becoming invasive, it doesn't start making you think too much. If you find yourself having to think about the breathing too much, then just forget about it and just breathe. Come up onto hands and knees now. We're going to move in and out of a downward facing dog position from, I've sometimes heard it described as a puppy dog. It doesn't really matter what it's called. I mean, I teach Pilates as well, and so many of the names that are given to positions in yoga and Pilates, they're both describing exactly the same thing. So the more I do it, the more irrelevant I kind of think the names usually are. So let's try and do this thing. So for this one, I'm going to suggest lean your arms, your hands go a little bit forward. So lean your hands go a little bit forward. Coming up on the toes, the balls of your feet, hovering your knees above the ground. And in that position, trying to find a reasonably neutral spine, by which I mean not letting your back collapse so you're arching up, not rounding too much, trying to find a reasonably neutral spine, same with the neck. And then pushing into a downward facing dog by straightening your legs out a bit and pushing back with the hips. And then repeating that, those two movements from this knees hovering just above the ground position, floating back into a downward facing dog. If you can do it, one breath, one movement, go for it. So inhaling as you transition from one position to the other, exhaling as you do the next one. Doesn't much matter which way you're doing it. Next time you come down, take yourself back into child pose and rest again. Just pause now and rest for a few moments. Noticing all the sensations. Where's your mind? Is your mind with you? Is your mind with the sensations? You're with the breath? And really celebrating when you notice it isn't. Because that noticing it wandering off on a tangent is the thing that gives you the opportunity to start again, to come back over and over. Coming up again, we're going to come up into a downward facing dog. We're going to hold a downward facing dog now a couple of times. First time when you come up into a downward facing dog, just notice how your body feels. And by that I mean look in particular about the placement of your hands. Look at where you've chosen to place your hands in the posture, how your feet are placed, how straight your legs are, how bent they are. Just assess. So whenever you're ready, come up and just take a few moments to see how you've come into this posture. Whatever version of it you've taken, it might be with like really strongly bent knees, doesn't matter. I'm not going to bang on about the various things you can do, but trying to find a reasonably neutral spine, I would say, is the main thing to look for here. Just in a very subtle way, assessing how you have chosen to come up into this posture today. And breathing. slowly make your way down. Bring yourself into a position that's restful, like maybe child pose again. Just rest for a moment. Equally, do feel free just to sit upright for a little while if you prefer to just kneel like I'm kneeling in hero pose, or sit cross-legged if you want. If you want to take another child pose, and just rest. We're getting ready to do our downward facing dog again, but this time, how about, as an experiment, changing the position of your hands slightly compared with how you normally do it. So even though we're going to hold the posture for, I don't know, half a minute or so, even though we're going to hold the posture, we are exploring slightly different positioning of the hands. So maybe letting the hands go out a little bit wider than you might normally, or letting the hands come in a bit closer than you might normally, or further away. Maybe spreading the fingers some more, or bringing them together. Same with the back of the body, the feet. Maybe bringing the legs close together, wider apart. Just shifting in the posture for a little while. Moving the positioning of your hands and your feet to notice the impact on the posture. And then eventually settle in and be still. The idea being simply that we always do these things, or very often do these things the same way. And every time you do this, it can be interesting to find a slightly different variation. So let's do it. Let's come up, find a downward facing dog, and then gently investigate, moving your hand positions a little bit, moving your feet positions a little bit, but not too rushy, just experimenting. It may be that you end up exactly where you always end up, but it may be that something feels slightly different and you think it's worth holding there to investigate for a while. So whenever you're ready, investigate the whole time if you want, moving around, but whenever you're ready, if you want to, stabilize again in a perhaps slightly different position from what you normally take in this pose. Notice what happens as your body starts fatiguing. Do you fight it? Do you desperately want to come down, but for some reason you're choosing not to come down? Just notice all the reactions to the process of your body getting tighter in the posture. And of course, one of the conclusions you could draw is that it's time to come down whenever you're ready to come down. And then bring yourself down. Again, child pose, hero pose, sitting on the floor, however you want to be for a few moments before we move on. So this is one of the challenges of doing a guided yoga practice, is that someone else is kind of leading the way physically, and your body might not be wanting to do exactly the same thing. So it's really important to find the discipline to ignore what the teacher's suggesting and do what your own body wants you to do. I mean, I find this myself in my practice. If I am in a yoga class and the teacher has kind of got you hanging out in a posture for ages, it's kind of like, I refuse to give up. I'm gonna go the whole way with this, as if there's some kind of achievement to be had in doing that. The achievement is being with your own body, making your own decisions for yourself. That's the achievement. although achievement's not quite the right word. Okay, we're going to do some more stuff now. I'm just going to tweak the angle of my camera a slight bit because we're going to eventually end up standing up. So let's come up into a kneeling position with one leg in front. The back foot, top of the foot can be on the floor, toes can be on the floor, up to you, however you want to play it. So just take a few moments to kneel. And then what we're going to be doing in this position is think about one of these kind of big stretches, sort of kind of a runner's type stretch. You'd like really push forward like that. We're going to be doing that, except we're not going to be allowing that to happen. This front leg is going to be preventing that from happening. So you're making that happen as if you were going to push into one of those runner's lunges, with this front leg pushing into the floor, maybe with the front foot a bit, keeping this leg active. So two forces against each other here. So just settle into this for a while. Trying to go forward into that lunge, but resisting it. And there's the whole scale. You can go from the gentlest of forces to really maxing it out, up to you. What you do with your arms, 100% up to you. Resting on the thigh, reaching up, whatever you want. Hands behind head if you want to. Just do whatever you want to do with your arms. And just investigate what's happening here with the sensations in the leg. Watching this, it looks like nothing's happening, but there should be something happening internally. Pushing forward, but not letting yourself go forward. And then relax. We're going to come into, so for the next one, we're going to rise up into a standing lunge from this position. So you want to get your toes and the ball of the foot on the ground behind you, lengthen up through the torso, and then just rise and lower. Nice and slowly, trying to keep some kind of a bend in the front leg. Same thing, do whatever you want to do with your hands again. And let's stay up at some point. Eventually, coming up into a standing lunge. Watch your balance. If you need to adjust the positioning of your feet, do that. Notice, is your spine reasonably neutral? Trying to find that. Maybe reaching up, if it feels good to reach up, why not? Up to you. And then we're going to come up a little bit. So step forward a tiny bit. We're going to take a forward fold in the pyramid position. So maybe shorten your stance a little bit. Front leg straight. And then fold forward. You might only come halfway down. You might be supporting yourself on your leg. But find yourself some form of a forward fold over that front leg. Can be all the way up to all the way hands on the ground. Up to you. Investigate how it is to keep that front leg straight. And breathe. Wherever you land, just pause and breathe. If you have come all the way down, let the neck be relaxed. Come back down to a kneeling position again, same leg in front. And we're going to have a little go on a half monkey. So kind of awkward to get yourself into it. What it is you straighten out the front leg in front of you. You can be all the way up with this one. Just feeling some sensation on the back of the front leg. Can be all the way up. Or if you want to, you can fold down a bit. Just take some position where this feels okay, whether it feels like a thing to be worth doing. If it doesn't feel like a thing that you want to be doing, don't do it. Chill. And breathe. if you're going for this folded over kind of variation, pay attention to anything feeling untoward in your back, your low back. You don't want to feel, the really interesting stuff that's going on here is in the back of that front leg. So if you're feeling like major pain or something about, clearly you don't want to be doing that. Hence why there's the option to be all the way up. And then let's come out of this. Let's take a few moments, back in child pose again. Or indeed, sitting up if you want to sit up. I prefer myself to be sitting up now, but if you want to take a quick child, please do. We're going to do the same stuff now with the other leg. So this time, whenever you're ready, bring yourself up. Get the other leg in front. Decide what you're doing with that back foot, whether you're going to be top of the foot on the floor or toes on the floor, however you want to play it. Investigate. And then once again, we're doing that thing where we are trying to do this old school runner's lunge, where you're trying to push forward like really, really deep into your runner's lunge, but you're not letting it happen. This front leg is resisting that. And you can investigate what you have to do with that front leg to investigate. Pushing the foot in the ground maybe. Just play with it, but once again, two forces working against each other. If the second force weren't applied, you'd be just going into that lunge. But the second force coming from the front leg is stopping that and noticing where you feel sensation in the body in response to that. Investigating what your tendency is. Is your tendency to max it out? You don't need to make too much of a fuss about that, but just notice whether you are inclined to max out or to go minimal. And if you are inclined to max out, maybe try going minimal just for fun, just to do something different. Same thing with the hands and the posture just now, doing something a little bit different from your normal way of doing stuff. Pause, ease off all the work now for a moment, and we're going to do that rising up and down into a standing lunge. We'll just take two or three before we stand. So whenever you're ready, get the toes of the back foot ready and just rise up. Come down. Another time. And come down. And whenever you're ready, staying up for a little while. Doing whatever you want to do with your arms, hey? Spine reasonably upright and erect. If balance is tricky, maybe changing the position of your feet slightly. Remember, you can always just adjust the position that you're in. Preparing to come into our standing forward fold in the pyramid. So stepping forward a bit, stepping up, shortening your stance. Front leg's going to be straight. Folding over, you might stay in a half fold, hands on the thigh. You might come anywhere down, hands on the leg, or you might come all the way down to hands on the floor and hold whatever posture you get into. Just try to get into a posture that you can sustain for a while and breathe. Let's come down into our kneeling position. So back in the kneeling position and getting ready to do the half monkey with the front leg out in front. So just find your way into it. There's no right way to get into this. It's awkward. It's a weird position to put your body into. But find some way that it works for you. Leg out in front of you. Body all the way up if you want it all the way up. Body folded forward a bit. Play with the position of the posture, really. This is not meant to be looked at, it's meant to be experienced and felt, and you're meant to adapt it to your body. You're not trying to adapt your body to this. Make your way out of it. Ease your way out of it, however you need to do that. Take a position that you want to rest in for a while. Kneeling, sitting, or child pose, up to you. Where's your mind? Is your mind still here? With the sensations of the body, with the breath. And then make your way up into standing. Bring yourself upright to stand. And we're going to do the movements with the spine that we did seated right at the very beginning of the practice, except we're going to do them in a standing position. And just feel how they feel doing it in a different position with the base of the body. Like last time we were sitting on the floor, this time we've got our legs and we've got our hips more accessible to us for this. So for all of these, you can stand roughly hip width apart with the feet. If you want a bit more balancing challenge, you can bring your feet together, but we're not trying to desperately go after challenge as if doing the challenge. Challenge is such a weird word, but I'm just suggesting this as not because I like doing some of this stuff with the feet together just so I can explore the sensations associated with testing my balance, but up to you how you do it. So once again, I'm going to be interlacing the hands, making the steeple with the forefingers together, one thumb over the other. Reach up nice and long through the body. So get nice and tall through the body. Investigate how it feels to engage your thighs, like you're trying to pull your knees up a little bit. Maybe gently engaging your low belly muscles. And then we'll do the side bend, but moving. First of all, just moving. So letting one hip push in the opposite direction of your side bend. Still being quite active with these arms reaching up. Come back to center, lengthen for a moment. Really, really get nice and tall. Check in with your feet. Are your feet grounded? Does it feel like you can get all 10 toes onto the floor? And then pick a side and take a side bend. Curve at the waist while pushing the opposite hip away from you. And being wise how you do that. You're not being too forceful with that pushing of the hip. Just in a way that supports your side bend. And even though you're side bending, you're still lengthening upright. You're still getting long. And breathe. Come back to center. Lengthen up, really lengthen up the spine before we do the other side. Once you feel nice and tall again, curve to the other side, pushing the hip in the other direction this time. Investigate the value or otherwise of engaging your low belly. So I'm talking about the piece of tummy between your belly button and your pubic bone. If you slightly engage that piece of your belly, does it help in some way? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Just have a quick check, see what it's like. Same with the engagement of the thigh muscles. You're trying to pull your kneecaps up. And breathing, breathing, breathing. Come back to center, lengthen up. Let's bring the arms down for a few moments. And notice what you feel in the way of sensation. And without making an essay out of it, seeing if you can relate to what you were just doing when you were doing it sitting on the floor just now. How does that side bend, how does a standing side bend feel compared with a seated side bend? Maybe the seated side bend is such ancient history, it's an irrelevant question. I don't know. Okay, we're going to do the back bend version of standing up now. So nothing extreme here, but once again, interlacing, making your steeple, reaching up. So this is already slightly different from the seated one, because the seated one we had our hands on the floor for a bit of support behind us. Now we are completely going to be relying on our spine and the muscles of our spine for support. So being careful here, not going nothing crazy. So to start off with this one, just let your head go back, let your eyes track up the ceiling. Take a moment to see that your neck is feeling okay before you do anything about the spine, the rest of your spine. Engage the thighs, engage the low belly, get longer, and see if you can bend a little bit in the middle back, upper back, rather than trying to get a huge curve by putting all your attention into the low back. Let the arms come with your head a little bit as well. Maybe pushing your hips forward a tiny bit. And breathing. Come back to center, lengthen up again, lengthen your spine, bring your head back to its neutral position, and then let your arms come down. Relax for a few moments. And then make your way into a standing forward fold. So standing forward fold, knees can be super bent, they can be straight, whatever feels good for you. So make your way into a standing forward fold, deciding whether you're going to bend your knees a lot and just stretch the back a little bit, or straighten the legs out so you're getting the hamstrings involved. Relaxing the neck, the head. And once again, a very interesting thing to do is seeing the benefits or otherwise of engaging your low belly in this forward fold. I personally find it very beneficial. Check it out. Maybe it does for you, maybe it doesn't. It's like creating a bit of pressure in the lower abdomen can kind of support the spine in a very subtle way, the low back. But it's not a textbook thing that's going to be the same for every single human body. So just investigate it. That's all. That's all you do with this stuff, is check it out and see how it applies to you, if at all. Whenever you're ready, unravel your spine upwards from the low back, so stacking your spine up from the low back, rolling up, head comes up last. Standing upright again and noticing what you feel in the way of sensation in your body. We're getting ready to come down to the ground in a moment. I want to do one small back bend lying on the belly, and we'll do a bit of a meditative breathing exercise before taking a final rest. So you can either just come straight down to the ground however you want, or if you maybe want to investigate the idea of coming down into a gentle forward fold, walking your hands out in front of you, So you come into a plank position. And why not? Why not have a few crafty moments in a plank? Actively pushing the ground away, making sure that your head is not just dangling down like a dead weight. And then bringing your knees to the ground and bringing the rest of your body carefully onto the ground. And just take a few moments resting on your belly, on the front of your body with maybe your hands underneath your forehead to support. I'm just tweaking my camera slightly. Okay, so we're now on the front of the body. We're resting with our head on our hands or our forearms in crocodile posture. So even this is a very, very gentle back bend. You've got your palms. If you've got your one palm stacked on the other and your head's on your palms, it's a smaller back bend. If you've got your forearms stacked on each other and your head on your forearms, it's a slightly deeper back bend, but still subtle. And once again, paying attention to how the breath is affected by compressing the front of the body and bringing attention to the breath in the back of the body. Let's take a Cobra. So for a Cobra, hand either side of the chest. Don't come up straight away. Just take a few moments just to lengthen out through the spine. Maybe pushing the pubic bone into the ground a little bit. Provide a bit of support for the low back. It can do that. And before you even pull up, think about pulling your elbows in the direction of your feet. So imagine you're just trying to point towards your feet with your elbows. And just notice how that process immediately starts lifting you. And whenever you're ready, come up a little bit higher into your Cobra. Let's not go for a massive one now, so not much arm strength. Head, bringing the head up a little bit. You can bring the head up quite a lot if that feels good. A big extension in the neck as well. Or else neutral spine, neutral neck. Breathing. Maybe lifting your hands off the floor just to see that you aren't using too much arm support now. It's primarily back muscle work here. And then come down again, take a brief rest. Drop back into crocodile posture. Brief pause. You're going to do exactly the same thing again, either choosing to do it primarily with spine extension, so using your back muscles to pick your spine up. But if you feel like it would be any benefit to you to have a slightly deeper back bend, then your arms become involved. So once again, hands on the floor, either side of the chest, point the elbows at the feet. Come up a bit, stay up a bit, or if you want a slightly deeper back bend, a little bit of arm strength this time. And if you've come up higher, same idea of pointing those elbows in the direction of your feet, so the shoulders are kind of pulling back and down. And breathe. If you've come up and you decide you want to come back down, please do. Bring yourself up, come back into a child pose. If child pose is a nasty one for you, hands and knees and just round your back up like a cat. Like you're trying to look down at your belly button and you're trying to lift your pubic bone up towards your belly button. Just round your spine for a little while. And then when you're ready, come into a comfortable seated position. This might be cross-legged on the floor. This might be kneeling in a hero pose. If you want to, why not even sit on a chair? We're just going to do a little, it's not a pure pranayama exercise. It's not a pure yogic breathing exercise. It's more of a kind of, meditative practice comes from the tradition of tantric yoga, but it's pranayama-ish. It's a breathing exercise, but also a mental exercise. So all we're doing, sitting up nice and tall, however you're sitting, and then you're going to imagine inhaling through the left nostril and exhaling through the right nostril. So it's just that, inhaling through the left, exhaling through the right. It might feel, in fact you are definitely going to be using both nostrils at all times, but trying to keep the awareness in those individual nostrils. And then adding some more to that. As you inhale through the left nostril, imagine kind of downward movement through the whole left side of your body. So as you're inhaling through the left nostril, you imagine that you're inhaling downwards to the lower, right down to the bottom of the body. And as you're exhaling through the right nostril, imagine the exhale beginning way down in the lower body and rising up and out of the right nostril. So there's this kind of circuit, down through the left, up and out through the right. So in and down through the left, up and out through the right. Involves using your imagination a little bit. So it's kind of like your awareness moving down into the lower body and then rising back up again with the breath. Inhaling down through the left, exhaling up through the right. Hopefully I said enough there for you to be able to play with this for a little while. Just sit there for a couple of minutes now, trying this. Eyes can be closed, eyes can be open, up to you. Next time you've completed a circuit, just return to natural steady breathing in through both nostrils, out through both nostrils. One more brief thing before we come down to rest is still breathing in this relaxed natural fashion. Again, it's going to be engaging the imagination somewhat. So we're going to try and take our attention right into the center of the skull, loosely. So imagine tops of your ears, imagine a line going from the top of one ear through your head and out, coming out the other top of your head. So that's roughly the level we're talking at, sort of top of the ear kind of level. And then imagine another line going lengthways through the head at the same height. And where those two lines cross, like this is, imagine this is like line from ear to ear, and then a line from kind of roughly the center of the forehead coming out the back of the head on top. Seeing if you can, with your imagination, bring your attention to that point, somewhere deep within the head. trying to relax into it, not thinking too hard about it. And I stress, it's using your imagination. It's not a specific organ, or it's not like moving your finger or something. It's using your mind here. Bringing that awareness, bringing your awareness really to the center of your head. And just letting it rest there for a few moments. And then release it and bring yourself down onto the ground. Lie down on your back. Either taking Shavasana style, legs out in front of you, flat on your back. Maybe constructive rest position if you want. Feet on the floor, knees up. Equally, you can lie in crocodile posture on your belly if you want. You can lie on your side, curled up like a baby if you want to. However you feel most comfortable lying on the floor, just lie there now. I'm not doing a guided meditation now, just literally lying down on the floor and letting go of everything. Trying to see if you can just be aware of everything. Trying to find this kind of sense of noticing sensations in the body, hearing sounds, thoughts, just letting it all emerge into this open space of consciousness. And it sounds grandiose, but there is something there within you that's aware the whole time of all of this stuff going on. So right now, that awareness will be aware that there is a person lying there trying to process all of this. But I'm making too many words now. Just relax for a little while and let whatever arises arise. Sensation, sound, thoughts, just let it come into your awareness and pass. I'm going to slowly bring this practice to an end, but I would strongly encourage you, if you're so inclined and you have the time, to just wait another minute or so and my voice will stop and you can just carry on resting on the ground for a little while longer. Actively encourage that if you fancy that and you've got the time for it, please do. Otherwise, if you want to finish the practice with me, bring a bit of movement back into your body and make your way up into a comfortable seated position again. Do whatever you want to do with your hands. I'm going to center myself. I like centering myself with this Anjali Mudra, this prayer position, just bringing the hands together at the center of the chest, but it's absolutely not obligatory. I just find this a nice centering way to finish my practice. But if you want to just keep your hands wherever, please do. And again, engaging your imagination. Consider the possibility that maybe in doing your practice today, you created some good energy. You created something good. You did something good for yourself. Moved your body a little bit. Tried to train, practice the art of keeping your mind in the same vicinity as your body and your breath, and that somehow this has created benefit for you. Just imagine that possibility for a moment. And now entertain the possibility that there is some goodness left from your practice, that you've had your portion, and now give your practice away. You've done with your practice is finished. You've finished with your practice for now. Think of someone you know who might benefit from some good coming their way from you, your practice. Give it away. Basically send someone some good vibes with your imagination. Send it, give your practice away. It's finished now. then please go off and do whatever you're doing. Hopefully having a nice day, nice evening, nice whatever. Take care. Thank you for joining me. Bye.